everyone. My name is Della Connor, and I write under the pen name of D.E.L. Connor, and I am the author of the Spirit Warrior series published by Booktrope. This is book 1. Here. This is book 2. So what I wanted to talk about today was how much is too much profanity in young adult? That was a big question for me when I first started writing. I can hazard to say that most young adults know all these words and use them on a regular basis. Being the mother of a now grown daughter, I do realize that she used a lot of these words and most of them away from me. So I'm sure you wondered about, do I drop the F-bomb? Should I drop the F-bomb? Can I use other little words? So I personally don't use the F word in my series of books. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we talk about some of these other things and give you some insight. But again, it's all about you as the author and what you're looking for. So let's talk a little bit about what you're looking for. Most of our popular young adult has little to no profanity in it. Think Harry Potter. Of course, obviously that's more middle school young adult, but there's very little profanity in there. The Hunger Games, really popular right now. Not a whole lot of profanity. Why is that? That they wouldn't have any profanity in these really popular books by, very highly regarded authors and very talented people. My theory is probably a lot of it's due to mass appeal. Who's going to buy this book? For young adults, obviously most of them don't have a source of income. And even if they do, their parents or grandparents or somebody is monitoring what they're reading. And they might not want a whole lot of profanity in it. Librarians or teachers, they have their own money to use to buy books. They may not want to buy it if it's going to be controversial. And also advertisers. I mean, the big books like Harry Potter and the Hunger Games and Twilight and all of that. Huge amount of advertising with that, and a lot of people companies won't advertise if there's a lot of profanity in it or there's anything that might be construed as being controversial. So that might be some of it, and that's just my theory. So, and I think another thing you need to look at as an author is context. So what is your location and setting? Is everyone around these characters using profanity? If their parents, their guardian, their friends, if this is the genre of everybody doing it, then it would be normal for them to use profanity. So that would be part of the story. So, I use some mild profanity, like the words crap or damn, because it was real for that location and setting. This was set in Montana, kind of has a Western feel to it. Everybody I knew who lives up there uses these kind of words. Not so much the F-bomb, but they definitely use those kind of words. So I had a friend, and she's from New York City. And so she grew up with her dad, was a New York City cop. The F-bomb was every minute of every day of her world. So that was her reality. And if she wrote a book about her childhood, it would be about the F-bomb, because that was all that was said at her house. And when she gets angry, that's all she says. So in a context like that, it's definitely going to be a part of your book because that was a part of her life. So I think it has its moments in context when you really need to use it. So next, let's talk about maturity in your target audience. So how old are your characters? If your characters are 10, 11, 12, I don't think they need to be full of profanity. As they age, of course, they're more likely to use profanity. So are you thinking that your people reading this are going to be young adult, 16 to 24, or are they going to be more preteens? So you need to look at the maturity of your characters and your target audience. And then you're going to have to look at who buys for your target audience. I've actually had several people, one of them was a teacher, who thanked me for not using the F-bomb. And that's pretty much the reason I don't drop the F-bomb in my books. There's just enough action without it. I don't think it's really needed. And I really don't want my target audience mimicking my character's language. I want them to mimic my character's strength, friendship, sportsmanship, and kindness to others. Next, let's talk about importance. So is it really important to your story that you use profanity? Can it be said without profanity? Will it take away from the story if you don't use it? Will it add to it if you use it? If it will, then use it. I mean, it's just that simple. It's your story, and you know more about it than anyone else. If it's going to make your story, like my friend and her growing up just using all this profanity was their way of life, then you need to use it because your story won't be the same without it. And then what is your goal? What do you want from your story? If you just want to tell your story your way and put it out there, then do it your way. Say what you want to say. Do what you want to do. There's nobody stopping you. If you don't really care about mass appeal, you just want to appeal to your target audience only, and you know that this is going to be something they use or don't use, then use it. But if you want mass appeal and you want your readers maybe younger than your target audience to read it, or if you want older people, grandparents or whatever to read it, then you might want to reconsider again how much profanity you use. Some of the other options I've come up with, instead of using the F-bomb or some other very long involved profanity, I do things like this. And I made flashcards. I know, aren't they cute? So let's do beep, effing instead of the F word. I mean, we all know what we're talking about, but it doesn't carry quite the sting of dropping the true word. Or how about this one? You don't actually have to say it all, but everybody knows what you're talking about. Or this is universal. Everyone knows what that means. Even over in Europe, even in Indonesia, or any place I've ever been, we all know what that means. So, in conclusion, I guess it really doesn't matter, on whether you use it. There's no hard or fast rules that I've ever found researching this topic. It really just depends on you, your targeted audience, and the maturity level of your targeted audience. So, just write. If it's what you need to tell in your story, put it in there. If it's not, have other people look at it and they say, no, it really doesn't work, or have your target audience read it and they say, no, we wouldn't really do that or wouldn't really say that, then redo it. So it all comes down to you and what's going to work with your story. So thank you so much for tuning in. I mean, I've loved doing this. I know I talk fast, kind of a Southern thing. Thank WordNerds for hosting me on Ink Slinging. I really appreciate it, and happy holidays, everybody.